Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Welcome back and welcome once again to the online technology dissemination and training series of BICARD in partnership with Bicol University Extension Management Division and the Philippine Association of Agriculturists Bicol Canarium Ovatum Chapter. My name is Nicole and I will be your host for today's episode. Today, we will be having the third episode of the third season of this webinar series, and we will be covering the topic formulation and quality evaluation of sweet potato cocoyam energy bar. Before I introduce our resource person for today for the said topic, may I invite everyone to join in together for a prayer and the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Almighty, ever-living God, the most merciful and compassionate, we thank you for creation and the life you have given us. Together, we people of diverse religions, spiritual expressions and indigenous traditions, who invoke you by different names, humbly pray for your providence and protection, in the midst of the COVID crisis. Strengthen and guide government leaders, and private agencies, especially our administrators, faculty and staff, for the wisdom to do what is right and just. Enlighten the minds of students, that despite the educational limitations in this new normal, they may study diligently and effectively. Bless our families, remove our fears, and help us to trust in your love, so that by our example and generosity, we can inspire and help others. Grant all of us, especially the frontliners, good health and accept those who have died in your kingdom. Amen.
Bayang magiliw, pelas ng silangan, nananag ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisili. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mabaga, may nilagang tulad, awit sa paglayang minamahal. Pag-isap ng matawat mo'y tagumpay na naniningning, ang bituin na taraw niya kailan pang mali magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng ating pagsinta, mo'y langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pamay mga pirang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Good afternoon once again, everyone. We encourage our viewers and participants to actively engage in this discussion by typing your comments and reactions in the comments section here at Zoom and at the FB Live. We will consolidate them for our open forum later after the talk of our resource person. So comment lang po kayo ng questions and we will make sure that they are answered. Also, don't forget to register via the link provided in the comment section. Kasi po, the email that you will provide in that form, that's where we'll send the link for the evaluation form, which you will have to accomplish for you to be able to acquire the certificate of participation. We'll close the registration form right after we are done with the event. So don't forget to register now and evaluate later. Now, it is my honor to introduce to you our guest speaker for today. She is currently taking her doctorate degree at the Technological University of the Philippines, Manila, and she acquired her master's degree in industrial education at Bicol University Graduate School. She is also currently an associate professor at BU and is the director of the Bicol Regional Food Innovation and Commercialization Center. As an associate professor and as the director of BRFICC, she handles various research endeavors. Her research her research include the utilization of cocoa residue for cocoa noodles, production of fiber and protein-enriched instant cocoa noodles, development of value-added food products from sweet potato, cocoyam, and cacao, and many, many more. She has also patented the utility model for the process of producing food bar utilizing sweet potato, cocoyam, and rice germ from rice. Today, she will be discussing our topic, formulation and quality evaluation of sweet potato cocoyam energy bar. To discuss about the said topic, I give you Professor Maria Janesa A. Reyes. Ma'am, good afternoon po. Ma'am, naka-mute po kayo, ma'am.
Sorry. Good afternoon. Ipi-play ng EMD yung pre-recorded video. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I am Maria Janesa Reyes, and I will be presenting one of the technologies developed in the Bicol Regional Food Innovation and Commercialization Center, the Sweet Potato Cocoyam Energy Bar. Eating in between meals has become a common habit as a result of a lifestyle that is becoming more stressful and involving extended workdays. According to surveys, people are consuming less energy from their major meals while consuming more from in-between meal snacks. In fact, almost a quarter of total energy being consumed daily comes from in-between meal snacks. Unfortunately, it is becoming more widely known that a lot of snacks can be rich in sugar, fat, and salt. The quality of the diet's nutrients as well as the energy balance might be negatively impacted by consuming these foods often. There is therefore a need to develop alternatives to currently available snacks, especially with the growing consumer demand for healthy, natural, minimally processed convenience foods. Food bars have gained acceptability in the eyes of the consumers as being better for you because they are considered good in nutritional terms and also because of their contribution to dietary fiber intake. Food bars have gained more importance and popularity in the global market during recent years, and today the market is offering a wide variety. However, most of these are made from oats, quinoa, and brown rice. Why not utilize locally available root crops? Sweet potato and cocoyam are two of the most readily available root crops in our country. Many of the compounds present in sweet potato and cocoyam are important because of their beneficial effects on health and are highly desirable in the human diet. A large sweet potato has 37 grams of carbohydrates with about 5 grams of naturally occurring sugar and about 4 grams of fiber. Sweet potatoes are almost completely fat-free unless fat is added while cooking. One large baked sweet potato provides about 3.6 grams of protein, 162 calories, 90% of which comes from carbohydrates, 9% from protein, and 1% from fat. Sweet potatoes are especially high in vitamin A and potassium. They also provide some calcium, iron, magnesium, and folate. Sweet potatoes are rich in antioxidants that have been studied for cancer prevention and treatment. Beta-carotene, which is essential for eye health, is abundant in sweet potatoes. A cup of sweet potatoes provides 11.3 milligrams of beta-carotene. The anthocyanins in sweet potatoes are also associated with anti-inflammatory effects that reduce the risk of heart disease. Cocoyam is an outstanding source of fiber, vitamins, and minerals. 100 grams of cooked cocoyam provides 142 kilocalories, 34.6 grams carbohydrates, 5.1 grams dietary fiber, 0.11 grams fat, and 0.52 grams protein. Cocoyam is good for weight loss due to its high fiber content and a low amount of calories. A study says that cocoyam helps reduce blood cholesterol levels, hence it helps maintain a healthy heart. Cocoyam contains a significant amount of potassium, which may help reduce blood pressure. Cocoyam possesses anti-cancer activities. It is also a rich source of antioxidants, such as flavonoids. With the promising health benefits of sweet potato and cocoyam, a value-added food product, an energy bar, was developed to utilize their nutrients in order to provide a nutrient-dense food product. Optimization techniques can be applied to product development in an attempt to find the ideal formulation or to investigate how the independent variables affect one or more dependent variables. The mixture modeling methodology is suitable for food products that require a composition or a blend of key ingredients, since the proportions of the ingredients in the mixture and their levels are dependent on each other and the sum of all the components is always 100. The development of new products must be associated with the sensory characterization for evaluation of their success in the market. This research was conducted to investigate the effect of the combination of candied sweet potato, candied cocoyam, and puffed rice on the acceptability of the bar using a mixture modeling method, and to determine the sensory profile, nutritional value, and microbiological properties of the bar. The first objective of this study was to determine the best formulation for the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar. In preparation of raw materials and equipment, good manufacturing practices or GMP was observed to ensure that the food is safe and is consistently produced and controlled to the quality standards appropriate for their intended use. All the utensils, measuring tools, equipment, and containers were cleaned and sanitized. Ingredients were accurately measured using appropriate measuring tools. Selecting a good quality raw material is the primary quality assurance requirement that was observed. The sweet potato and cocoyam were washed under running potable water until there were no visible soil or contaminants on the skin. After washing, the sweet potato and cocoyam were peeled and cut into thin slices and soaked in syrup for 3 days and stored in the refrigerator to produce the desired texture and taste. These were drained, placed in stainless trays, and dried in the cabinet dryer. After cooling down, it was cut into small pieces and placed in airtight containers. The rice germ was washed thoroughly until the water was clear to remove the residue and dirt. The rice germ was cooked and then spread in stainless trays and dried in the cabinet dryer. To achieve the desired texture of puffed rice germ, the dried rice germ were broken into smaller pieces in a food processor before being deep fried in oil. Matured pili nuts were carefully selected in order to produce pili nuts of good quality and sensory attributes. To preserve the pili nuts' color, flavor, and nutritional value, these were blanched. The pili nuts were peeled, cut into small pieces, and roasted for enhanced flavor and aroma. Then it was cooled and packed in an airtight container. In the formulation of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar, all the ingredients were measured and weighed accurately according to the formulation using the appropriate measuring tools. In a mixing bowl, the candied sweet potato, candied cocoyam, puffed rice germ, and roasted pili nuts were mixed together and set aside. The marshmallow with butter were heated and melted using a non-stick pan until completely melted and homogeneous. The dried ingredients were added immediately to the binding agent, mixed properly to ensure even distribution of the dried ingredients, and spread in a tray. The mixture was rolled with a rolling pin to ensure that the energy bar was properly compacted. These were then cut into 25-gram bars. The finished product was packed in a tightly closed container to avoid absorption of moisture, which could affect the texture of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar. The researcher conducted pre-trials with 9 different formulations of candied sweet potato, candied cocoyam, and puffed rice germ in formulating the energy bar. The measurement of other ingredients, which are the marshmallow, butter, and pili, remained constant. The researcher set the specific standards for each procedure to attain a good quality of the product. These 9 formulations were evaluated by the researcher and the BSFT professors to determine the 3 best samples to be used in the study. The 3 best formulations were sample 1 with 33% sweet potato, 33% cocoyam, 33% rice germ. Sample 2 with 66% sweet potato, 17% cocoyam, and 17% rice germ. Sample 3 with 17% sweet potato, 66% cocoyam, and 17% rice germ. The researcher chose a group of panelists that serve as research respondents composed of 15 trained 4th-year students of BS Food Technology. They were chosen after they have undergone 3 repetitive sensitivity tests. Before the sensory evaluation, the researcher conducted orientation about the product and the sensory score sheets. The first sensory evaluation was conducted to determine the most preferred sample using the rank preference test. They were given 3 coded samples. The panelists were asked to rank the samples according to their preference. Rank 1 as the most preferred, rank 2 as the second most preferred, and rank 3 as the least preferred. Thereafter, the result of the rank preference was applied to Kramer's rank sum test. Using Kramer's rank sum test, the most preferred sample was identified at 5% level of significance. Based from the range of 23 to 37 for 3 samples with 15 panelists, sample 1 was significantly most preferred since its rank sum was lower than 23. Therefore, the optimal formulation of sweet potato, cocoyam, and rice germ are 33% for the 3 raw materials. The second objective of the study was to determine the sensory characteristics and acceptability of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar. Quantitative descriptive analysis was used to describe the sensory characteristics of the most preferred sample. The respondents evaluated the sensory characteristics of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar in terms of appearance, texture, and taste. Appearance was evaluated by rating the sample in terms of the distribution of the ingredients. Texture was evaluated in terms of its cohesiveness, adhesiveness, and particle size and shape. For taste, it was evaluated in terms of sweet potato taste, cocoyam taste, rice germ taste, sweetness, sourness, and aftertaste. After evaluation, the score sheets were collected for data analysis. Sensory evaluation showed that the different ingredients were fairly distributed. Texture was chewy, slightly tacky, and grainy. Taste was sweet with noticeable sweet potato taste and rice germ taste, and barely noticeable cocoyam taste, sourness, and aftertaste. Sensory evaluation was done using the 9-point hedonic scale score sheet to determine the acceptability of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar. The respondents were given a score sheet together with the product. They evaluated it to determine the acceptability of the sample in terms of appearance, texture, and taste. Acceptability of appearance, taste, texture, and overall acceptability was liked very much. Third objective was to determine the nutritional value of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar. The most preferred sample of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar was sent to Bicol Regional Center for Food Safety and Quality Assurance Laboratory to determine their proximate composition in terms of moisture content, total fat content, total carbohydrates, dietary fiber, and protein content. The sweet potato cocoyam energy bar had a moisture content of 4.27%, ash content of 2.59%, fat content of 7.3%, fiber of 3.83%, and protein of 30%. It contains 102.26 fat,
'Alright, it seems po na nawala ang ating host. So let us wait for a short while they try to come back. Just a moment lang po.
fiber of 3.83%, and protein of 13.8%. It contains 102.26 kilocalories per 25-gram serving, that is 4% of the daily required energy intake. The total fat is 1.82 grams per 25-gram serving, which provides 4% of the daily recommended nutrient intake. The total carbohydrates present in the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar was 18.01 grams per serving, which could provide 5% of the daily recommended nutrient intake. The 3.45 grams of protein per 25 gram serving of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar can provide 5% of the daily recommended nutrient intake. Dietary fiber is a type of carbohydrate that cannot be digested by our body's enzyme. Dietary fiber helps keep the gut healthy and is important in helping to reduce the risk of diseases such as diabetes, coronary heart disease, and bowel cancer. Sweet potato cocoyam energy bar contains 3.35 grams of dietary fiber per serving, which provides 15% of the daily recommended nutrient intake. Index of the nutritional quality is the ratio between the percentage of the reference intake of each nutrient and the percentage of the average requirement for energy provided by food. The total amount of INQ of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar for the age group of 19 to 29 years old male is 7.25 per serving. Since the result for the INQ per serving is greater than 2, the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar can therefore be considered as nutrient-dense under the INQ rating system. Foods that are nutritionally dense provide the most nutrients for the fewest number of calories. That is why picking out foods with high nutrient density is vital for healthy dietary habits. Commercially available cereal bars in the market are packed in 25 to 30 grams. The sweet potato cocoyam energy bar was packed in 25 grams per serving. It contains 102.26 kilocalories per 25 grams, and it has comparable energy content to the commercial bars in the market, having higher energy content than brand X with 85 kilocalories but lower than brand Y with 120 kilocalories. The total fat of the energy bar is 1.82 grams per 25 grams serving. It has comparable fat content to brand X, which has 1.7 grams, and brand Y with 1 gram. The sweet potato cocoyam energy bar is a good source of carbohydrates since the source of carbohydrates are starchy, namely the sweet potato, cocoyam, and rice germ. It has total carbohydrates of 18.01 grams, which is comparable to those found in commercial bars, which are 15.9 grams for brand X and 24 grams for brand Y. The 3.45 grams of protein per 25 grams serving of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar has almost the same protein content with brand Y with 3 grams, higher protein content than brand X with 1.4 grams. Sweet potato cocoyam energy bar contains 3.35 grams of dietary fiber per serving, which is higher than both brand X with 1.5 grams and brand Y with 3 grams. The most preferred sample of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar after sensory evaluation was subjected to a series of microbial analyses. The sample was sent to the RCFSQA for the total plate count and the Department of Science and Technology Region 5 laboratory for the yeast and mold count. To ensure the safety of the consumers, microbial analyses were done on the product. These tests are valuable in evaluating food quality. Large numbers of bacteria may be an indication of poor sanitation or problems with the process or with the raw materials and other ingredients that were used. The total plate count is used as an indicator of bacterial populations on a sample, and it can be valuable in evaluating food quality. In dried foods, it can be used as a means of assessing the adequacy of moisture control during the drying process. TPCs are poor indicators of safety in most instances, since they do not directly correlate to the presence of pathogens or toxins. Yeast and mold count is also needed to be tested on the product. Yeast and mold can invade and grow and animal health because of their ability to produce toxic metabolites known as mycotoxins. Most mycotoxins are stable compounds that are not destroyed during food processing. Results of the microbial analysis for total plate count in yeast and molds of the sweet potato and cocoyam energy bar are both within the allowable limit, and it is therefore safe for human consumption. The utilization of sweet potato and cocoyam in the development of an energy bar showed that the most preferred formulation for the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar is 33% sweet potato, 33% cocoyam, and 33% rice germ. The sweet potato cocoyam energy bar had ingredients that were fairly distributed, chewy, slightly tacky, and grainy, sweet with noticeable sweet potato taste and rice germ taste, and barely noticeable cocoyam taste, sourness, and aftertaste, and it is acceptable to the consumers. The sweet potato cocoyam energy bar is considered as nutrient dense based on the INQ system, and it can be an excellent source of energy, fat, carbohydrates, protein, and dietary fiber. The microbial load of the energy bar is within the standard allowable limit for microorganisms. Therefore, the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar is safe for human consumption. Based from the findings and conclusions of the study, the following recommendations were forwarded. Shelf life determination of the product should be conducted in order to determine its expiration date. Determination of the appropriate packaging material to prolong the shelf life of the product for marketability purposes should also be conducted. Conduct physical cocoyam energy bar. This research can help the LGU since the product is a convenient and ready-to-eat food. The sweet potato cocoyam energy bar can be utilized as a disaster food that could be distributed during calamities, since the product is nutritious that can help the people in the evacuation centers to sustain their recommended nutrients when calamities or disaster occurs. The DepEd can include the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar in the nutrient-dense foods that can be sold in school canteens. The Department of Education has implemented the school-based feeding program, which provides similar meal plan for undernourished public school children from kindergarten to grade 6. The sweet potato cocoyam energy bar can be among the food options for the National Supplementary Feeding Program in promoting good nutrition and healthy diet for Filipinos. For the sustainability of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar, patent application for the energy bar has been filed and it was granted a utility model. Technology pitching of the product is continuously being conducted. A memorandum of understanding with an entrepreneur and cooperative of sweet potato farmers in the region was done. It has already been licensed to Kamote Creations. The energy bar is included in the Technology Business Incubation of Bicol University. Currently, we are conducting activities with the technology adapter, the Kamote Creations. This include training of the personnel on the processing of the sweet potato cocoyam energy bar, plus the analysis of the energy bar that will already be processed in their processing facility. A market study will also be conducted by the Bicol University Center for Technology Commercialization and Enterprise Development, and it will be funded by the DOST IPCOM. Thank you. Welcome to the Bicol Regional Food Innovation and Commercialization Center. As part of the DOST's National Innovation Strategy, the establishment of food innovation centers in each region aims to improve the innovative capacities of MSMEs in the food industry in order to improve the quality of their products. The vision of BRFICC is to be a center of standard and excellence on food science, technology, and innovation, recognized for world-class products and services. The mission of BRFICC is to serve as an integrated innovation and support service network for the development and commercialization of processed foods to maximize value addition to diverse food resources and contribute to the sustainable development of the Philippine food industry. The Technology Hub is one of the center's components. On agreed terms and conditions, locally designed and fabricated food processing and packaging equipment is made available for use by a cooperator or beneficiary firm. The Food Research and Testing Laboratory is another component of the center. Firms will receive assistance with product and/or process development to improve and meet certain quality standards that will help to attain their goal to compete on a local and global level. The center, in collaboration with Bicol University Regional Center for Food Safety and Quality Assurance, conducts research on developing innovative technology and improving local food products. The center's third component is technology training. Firms receive technical training in production or processing technologies and critical components of food processing, such as good manufacturing practices, hazard analysis and critical control point, cleaner production technologies, and other particular training needs. MSMEs and personnel from the Department of Trade and Industry, Department of Agrarian Reform, and Department of Science and Technology attended a techno-demo on vacuum frying in BRFICC. BRFICC, in collaboration with the Regional Bureau on Jail Management and Penology, held a webinar as part of the BRFICC's extension activities. It was a training for food service managers and supervisors to improve food management in all of the Bicol region's jails so that they can provide efficient and effective meal service to those who have been deprived of liberty. In collaboration with the Department of Agrarian Reform, a food processors training workshop in GMP, SSOP, and HACCP was conducted as part of the village-level, farm-focused enterprise development. Technical and productivity consultancy or advisory services are made available to firms through the centers and the DOST's pool of science and technology experts. Non-technical assistance such as entrepreneurial advisory, financial management, marketing, and others will also be provided by the center by tapping expertise available in the university as well as regional network and other institutions. Who is eligible to use the center's services? Any business in the Philippines owned entirely by Filipinos, any micro, small, or medium-sized business eager to incorporate technological innovations into their current operations, or in the case of startups, adapt the technology, are eligible to avail of the services of the center. For the purpose of providing services and making use of the facilities, a memorandum of agreement shall cover all engagements with stakeholders. The center will develop appropriate guidelines for each equipment's use. The equipment available in the center include water retort, vacuum fryer, cabinet dryer, spray dryer, freeze dryer, vacuum sealer, band sealer, can simmer, freezer, blast freezer, chiller, pulverizer, noodle machine. The vacuum fryer is used for deep fat frying. It is designed to fry under low pressure and in a closed system, lowering the boiling point of both oil and water in the food. Food dehydrates at a lower temperature, which preserves its natural color and flavor. The texture of the product is crunchier since it absorbs less oil in the process. Local fruits and vegetables such as banana, mango, pineapple, durian, jackfruit, papaya, okra, and carrot are examples of vacuum-fried products. String beans, sweet potato, taro, green pepper, garlic, and onion can all be vacuum fried. Vacuum frying can also be used on marine goods such as tahong, squids, and crablets. The water retort is a vessel used for cooking and sterilization that can withstand extreme pressures. Designed to kill all microorganisms in order to extend shelf life and make products safe to eat. Reduced processing time results in cost savings in utilities. The water retort enables food processors to convert to retort pouches as an alternative packaging for thermally processed products at a lower cost. Suman, biko, danggit, tuyo, bangusin oil, sisig, and adobo are some of the Pinoy popular meals and drinks that were processed in the water retort. An insulated cabinet with perforated trays, each of which can hold a thin layer of food, makes up the cabinet dryer. To promote consistent air distribution, hot air is blasted through a system of ducts and baffles. Fruit and vegetable goods, as well as meat, fish, and poultry products, can be dried in cabinet dryers. The freeze dryer is used to dehydrate heat-sensitive materials by sublimating their water content under vacuum conditions. It can also be used to keep a perishable substance fresh or make it easier to transport. Freeze-dried items can be kept at room temperature without needing to be refrigerated. The freeze dryer retains the majority of the unprocessed food materials' quality characteristics. The shape and color of dried material are retained. Flavors, aromas, and nutritional content are mostly unchanged. Freeze-dried products can be rehydrated quickly. Converting liquids to dry powder is conducted with the spray dryer. It causes instantaneous evaporation by subjecting atomized liquid raw material to hot gas in a drying chamber. It's the most efficient way to dry heat-resistant and heat-sensitive products. Vacuum packaging removes oxygen from the container, extending the shelf life of the food. It stores food in a low oxygen environment, inhibiting the growth of microbes and reducing spoilage, hence considerably prolonging the shelf life of food. It is commonly used to store dry items such as cereals, nuts, cured meats, cheese, smoked salmon, coffee, and potato chips for long periods of time.
Ayan, thank you so much po, Professor Reyes, for a very informative and nakakagutom na discussion. And for introducing to us the BRFICC, I am sure na marami po sa ating viewers ang gustong makipag-partner na po sa inyo since ang dami-dami niyo po palang mga equipment sa BRFICC. Thank you so much, ma'am. And at this point, we are now ready to entertain questions from the FB Live and the comment section here at Zoom. So if you have queries, please post them in the comment section of the FB Live. And while waiting for those questions, may I ask this first question, ma'am? Are there any commercialization plans po, ma'am, or will you leave that po to the Kamote Creations na po, ma'am?
For the energy bar, currently it has already been transferred. Meron na siyang licensing agreement with the Kamote Creation. So as I mentioned earlier, we will be teaching them the process of making the energy bar, and we have to make sure that the quality of the energy bar that will be produced in Kamote Creations is the same as the quality with what we produced in the Food Innovation Center. So the energy bar that will be processed by Kamote Creations before it will be commercialized or released to the market will have to undergo the nutritional analysis, the physical-chemical analysis, plus the shelf life analysis. So the different, aside from the energy bar, the different products that are also being developed on the center will also undergo commercialization, and this will be in collaboration with the Center for Technology, Commercialization and Enterprise Development of the Bicol University.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am. So in partnership po pala talaga tayo with Kamote Creations. Okay, so another question po, ma'am. You mentioned earlier po sa recommendations po ninyo na the energy bar can be distributed after typhoons as part of the relief goods. So how do you plan po, ma'am, on having a mass production of the energy bar?
One of the reasons why we also transfer the technology to Kamote Creations is because walang capability yung BU to do mass production. So with the help of the Kamote Creations, we'll be able to produce these products na pwede siyang i-distribute during calamities and emergencies.
All right, thank you so much po, ma'am. And another one po, sa DepEd po, ma'am, you also mentioned na you are planning on partnering with DepEd sa feeding program nila. Have you already tapped them po ba, ma'am, para po kung baka sakali basama po ang energy bar sa feeding programs po nila?
At as of now, wala pa kaming talks with DepEd. So maybe with the help of the Extension Management Division of the
Yes.
Bicol University, we can come up with that program. But again, since naka-transfer na siya, naka-license na siya sa Kamote Creations, the processing or the production of the energy bar will be through the Kamote Creations already.
All right po, ma'am. So I think po, ma'am, all are very concise naman po yung ating presentation, kaya po wala pong masyadong questions. Talagang ma'am, andun talaga yung information sa presentation po ninyo. So thank you so much po, ma'am. So, can you just give us, ma'am, some words of wisdom for our future researchers in the same field?
Okay, so in coming up with new products or food innovations, it's very important for us to look at the needs of the consumers and to look at the available resources in the region. So here in the Bicol region, we have a lot of kamote, we have a lot of root crops, and especially the pili products. So that is what we are teaching our students and even the MSMEs to look at what is available in the region and try to come up with products from these raw materials. Also, it's also for the MSMEs, we try to help them improve their product, yung available products nila, yung current products nila, plus their processes. So if the MSMEs or even the students and faculty of the different SUCs and HEIs in the university, they are welcome to visit the Food Innovation Center so we can assist them in terms of product development and innovation for their plans and current products. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much po, ma'am. So we are all welcome po pala at BRFICC. So inimbitahan po namin ang lahat. You are all welcome at the BRFICC, and Ma'am Janesa will of course welcome us all there. So thank you again, Professor Janesa Reyes, for your time, and we hope that more blessings will come to you and your institution. So in behalf of BICARD, BUAMD, and PAA Bicol, we would like to extend our utmost gratitude to all of our participants today for your participation, and please watch out for our next episodes of this online technology dissemination and training series. And with that, thank you, keep safe, and God bless you all. Thank you so much po. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us today.